Right, good afternoon. Welcome to Across the Pond Sports. I'm doing an interview today. I tend to do these interviews when I'm interviewing native Scotsmen and women. Put the strip on today. I always find it's easier to chat to my own countrymen because I don't have to slow my speech down. You understand what I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, whereas my American partners, they struggle. So, Lee Greenhalgh, we met last year, I think it was, at the driving range, and you were just finishing up with your PGA qualification. And I think you've got an interesting story, and to get you on here, we've just a few car troubles and a few recording troubles. We've not quite managed to make it happen, but we're here today. So, Lee, it's good to have you on. How's things?
Hi, good mate. Good to be here. It's been all right. Like you said, met you back in I think it was about October time. So I think I was just starting the PGA course. But I was at end of range session. I think you were up with a couple of your mates that then we kind of just got chatting a wee bit for there.
Yeah, it wasn't really a session. We tend not to have range sessions. What we do is we go with a focus. We go with a focus plan, right? And we're like, I'm just going to take these 3 clubs. So I'm going to work on this thing, and then after about 6 balls, we just try and see who can hit the ball the furthest.
Start pumping driver.
Yes.
With that as well, there's a time and place for that.
Aye, absolutely. And I've been following your social media and stuff. So, you're big into the weights, eh?
Yeah. I got into like lifting weights when I was probably like about 15, 16. Like I used to do a bit of like taekwondo as well. So I kind of, because I'm quite short, I'm about 5'6". For me to be able to compete with guys that were bigger than me, I was like, I kind of need to be a bit more resilient. So I started kind of lifting during that, and also just for like all the wrong reasons, because like I'm short and girls wouldn't look at me otherwise.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, if I've got broader shoulders, I might have a chance.
Absolutely, that's the number one reason. That's why everybody lifts.
That's it. It's like you can see Abercrombie models and stuff like, I'll get abs and then I'll be all right. I can worry about a personality later.
Yeah, exactly. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the start then. So as I explained to you kind of off camera before we start this, my interview technique was once described as scattergun. So if I think of something, I'll jump in and we'll ask a question. However, let's try to be a bit more regimented from the very start. So, young Lee, getting started in the golf. Tell us a bit about the story for that.
So I started playing golf. Well, I started going to the range with my old man when I was probably about like 5 or 6 or something. He showed me some old videos of me just like sticking my head into the old like shag bags and stuff, and hitting a few balls. But I didn't really get into golf until I was about 13 or 14. Like I stopped playing for years. Like I had been going to the range with my dad, but then just stopped for ages. Don't really know why. And then I started watching the Open with my old man. I was like, didn't realize why I stopped playing. Got back into it, and then I really caught the bug from there. And then started probably taking my golf a bit more seriously when I was about 16 or something. That's when I started taking it a bit more seriously, and then. Unfortunately, started having some like issues with like back injuries and issues with like my hips and knee and stuff. Like as I started getting a little bit older, like injuries started when I was about like 17ish. I was getting ready to go and play the like Scottish Boys that year. So Scottish Boys normally comes around about like March time. It's normally right at the start of the season. And yeah, I've been practicing all winter with Alistair McLean, who just about everyone in Scotland don't know who else there is. Brilliant.
Yeah, I know Alistair, yeah.
Brilliant teaching pro, brilliant club pro. I think he's like absolutely the epitome of what a golf pro should be. Great with people. He was very generous and would like teach guys like myself and other guys in the Dunstan junior team and like kind of help us out if and when he could. So he was giving me a bit of help, trying to prepare for the Scottish Boys. I was honestly, I don't even think I've swung it better since then. I just think like I still remember this old video that I watched. I can't find it anymore. It was on an old phone. I remember just looking through it and I was like, that's like, I'm swinging it brilliant. I was like well fired up to get in amongst these boys. And it was probably about 2 months before it or something. I had to withdraw because I went out to play, hit a tee shot on the first hole at Duddingston, didn't feel very good. My back felt a bit sore beforehand. Hit my first tee shot, still didn't feel good. And then hit like a 3-wood for my second shot, and my back spasmed. You see the video of Tiger when he like dropped to his knees, and it gets like replayed all the time when they're talking about how resilient he is and how he's like came back from all sorts. That's what I done at the first hole at Duddingston, and I was like, it's honestly, it's horrible. It was the worst feeling I've ever had. I couldn't I couldn't continue to play. I was like struggling to carry my bag back to the clubhouse, and I could barely tie my own shoes again for like months after. It was bad. It was all muscular. It was just a spasm, but it was really bad. I could barely play golf for the rest of that year.
Did you finish the round?
No danger.
Because Duddingston's a hard up and down, awkward angles type course.
Yeah, it's like hilly in places. I think a lot of it's like not too bad. But no, honestly, I think I walked back in on the third. I don't even think I tried to play the next hole. I walked it with my mate and then came off. And actually, I think I remember because I was a junior at the time. I didn't have a job. I was skint. And I think I ended up having to walk home like with my golf bag because I couldn't get picked up by anyone. I didn't drive at the time. And like I walked home with my golf bag and it was agony. It was so sore. But yeah, I had plenty of times where I'd been like injured. I'd fractured my wrist as well when I was like 16, and stupidly played just about a full season on it. Like I eventually gave it time to recover after like playing the junior championships. But yeah, like I tried to play the Lothians boys with it and stuff like that. I didn't do well. I didn't even make it to the match play in that, but I got to the final of our junior championships with a fractured wrist. So I'll take that as a win.
That's a win.
It wasn't too bad.
That's a win. Yep. So yeah, went to the kind of juniors and go and just explain a wee bit about the kind of how the championships work, the Lothians championships and things, because obviously we have listeners from across the pond, so they don't. It's a different structure in America as to how the juniors golf works.
Aye. So it's kind of like we have like different counties. So we have like Lothians, Argyll and Bute, like places like that. Some of them run their county championships differently. Some of them do it as like a stroke play event. For the Lothians boys match play though, you'll do 2 rounds of stroke play to then qualify for the match play. I'm positive it's just 2 rounds. Yeah, I think it's 2 rounds of stroke play, and then you go into the match play after that. And I can't remember if it's like top 16 they get through or top 32. It's one of them. And then you just basically battle out for the rest of the week until you get to the final. It's kind of more like their US Open US amateur format, or like British amateur format. I guess it's kind of similar to that, but obviously not quite the same standard of golf as getting played. There's some really seriously good players like in the Lothians, some of them that are like playing at a world class level and stuff. Some of my friends included in that are like seriously good players. And were
you in the same kind of groups as like Blaney and that, Anthony Blaney and stuff? Or
no, Blaney was older than me, and better than me. So
I'll tell you, he is a striker of the ball. Like, so my old course when I was at Liberton for a number of years, and obviously we had a really good junior section at one point, and it was Blaney seemed to be up and down the country all over. I've got one of my friends as well. I think it's a cousin or it's a somebody. I can't quite remember how it works out. It's maybe just like the dad's pal. But he was forever taking Anthony all over the country. So I think there's a lot of parents have kind of sacrificed their weekends taking their kids up and down the country to go and play in these golf competitions. Yeah,
Kieran Cantlay's another one for Liberton. He's
good.
He's phenomenal. I've played with him a few times, and he's been so close so many times to really kicking on to the next level. I really hope he does. Like I got him quite well. I know him reasonably well.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's probably one of the best ball strikers I've met. Like there's not really any glaring parts of his game that you'd be able to see and be like, that's kind of the missing link.
Yeah.
He just hits the ball so good. Just like it was ridiculous. I played one round Dunstan once, and it was like horrible weather. It was hosing it down, and like greens were like starting to flood and stuff. And he shot 3 under and looked like he was playing terrible. He was just like hit like a couple of like pretty low shots, not like super low, but like for him, and still came in like 3 under. And I was just like, I don't really understand how that just happened. Like when I came off the golf course, it's just like if you're watching it from afar, you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, that really looked like a 69. But
yeah,
it was good. Like he had plenty of birdies early doors. It was just he's good balls. There's plenty of them though, like getting up and down the country that are getting unbelievable players, like brilliant in their own right. I think a lot of it comes down to playing your best golf on the right day. I don't think, like, I don't particularly think there's that many guys on, like, say, like the Tartan Tour. There's a few guys on the Tartan Tour that if you took them out, like, say the top, like, 5 guys on the Tartan Tour, if you took them out and got them onto the Challenge Tour, I think someone would do all right on it. I think they would hold their own fine. They'd be able to keep a card, I reckon, if they continue to play at the like standard they're kind of already playing at. I think it's more about like getting to that next stage in the first bit is just like the margins are so fine.
Yeah. And the difference between being like one of the best golfers at your club and then going and competing against the other good golfers at these clubs, again, there's just so many different levels, eh? I mean, I've got a pal that he looked into it, and I think to get on the Tartan Tour, you could attempt to get on it if you were off at like 2 or something. 2 or 4, but
you can play on the Tartan Tour if you're off at like scratch or less. Like as an amateur, you can just go and play it.
But you're not going to have a hope because you'll be playing against boys that are plus 5, 6, 7 or whatever.
But like most of the guys that are competitive on that regularly are like ex-Scotland, like national squad members. They're like turned pro probably when they're about like +3, +4, +5 sort of thing. And like it's not like they've gotten worse since then. Like they've more than likely improved. They're probably hitting it further and more accurate. And I'm like, these are guys that like you'd be looking at it like the Scottish Amateur and you'd be like, oh, they'll have a good chance of like maybe winning the Scottish Amateur. And now they're all competing against each other regularly on this like same tour. It's like guys that have like some guys that like maybe won the Scottish Amateur as well, like back in like whenever, like 2013 or 14 or 15. And then guys that were like winning it in 2019, and they're all just like in the same place, all like scrapping against each other, like getting a few times. I think it's like 13 or 14 events they've got a year. And like that's the thing. Like it's not like they're excellent players. They're probably in the 0.2% or something on the planet. Maybe even like a smaller margin than that. But like the jump from that to trying to be in the 0.001% or something like that is like the guys that are in top of the like PGA Tour and stuff. There's just like there's a jump there. Like it's and like
massive golf.
And like the thing is, if you put one of those guys on the Tartan Tour and put them on like the range at the Open, you wouldn't be able to walk up and down the range and be like, oh, that's a guy that's like out of place sort of thing. No danger because they hit the ball great. It's just like some of the guys on tour are just like freakishly consistent, especially you see guys like Scotty Scheffler the last couple of weeks has just been borderline bionic.
Yeah, he can't miss.
Oh, it's freakish.
He can't miss. Yeah,
like it's mental to watch. Absolutely mental to watch. And like as much as like guys, like the average amateur will like watch it and be like, that's like amazing golf. No one understands how difficult that is to do. Like see when you start getting like better and better at golf, and you're like, you know, you've had odd times where you've maybe had like a really hot like 9-hole stretch or something, or like a really hot round and stuff. Like people didn't get how hard it is to do that like multiple weeks in a row and like multiple rounds in a row.
Yeah.
You know, like him, I can't remember what, like some of his stats are just mental. I can't remember what he was on the weekend there, but he had silly amounts of birdies. It was like 8 under or something shot in the final.
8 under on the Sunday, yeah. But he's not, I think he's had like, I can't remember the exact stat. There's a number that he's had where he's not been over par. He's had so much, like a streak of, I think it's maybe like 15 rounds or something where he's been under par in every single one of them.
It's nuts. It's probably more than that. It wouldn't surprise me. It's just, but that's the thing. Like, guys will see that standard and they'll be like, "Oh, like I could like get to that," and you're like, "There's no reason why anyone couldn't be an elite level golfer." In my opinion, I think someone like that's a good level golfer, I don't see any reason why, given enough time and effort and like specificity to it, like they couldn't become really, really elite.
Yeah.
But they have to understand how long that's probably going to take, and people think it just like turns around like really quickly. Like you see guys like that, and they can like Wyndham Clark shot back-to-back 65s over the weekend, and like the guys that are like looking at the PGA Tour and be like, "Oh, I could maybe get there," and just like some of them haven't shot 65 in their life, like amateurs and stuff. They're like, they're like +2 and stuff, and they're like, so you've never shot that once in your life. That boy's dropped 2 65s in back-to-back days like it was nothing.
Yeah,
like that's mental golf. Like that's,
and there seems to be a wee run recently as well where a lot of them, this the mythical 59 is now like, it seems to be in sight for a lot of them. So there's some of them going out and shooting 59, 60s, 61s. That is elite level golf. So you're never going to get anywhere near that.
Knock on the door all the time, and it's like, the thing is like, it's hard to explain it. See, if you, it's the old adage of just like, oh, take like one shot at a time, sort of thing, right? Everyone talks about it. It's total like cliche stuff, but it's if you kind of break it down more than that, it's not just like, oh, can think about just hitting one shot at a time. It's hard to think about it like that. Whereas if you just think about going through the process on every single shot and giving every single shot your full attention, and that's the only thing that matters on each of these shots, not like the overall result of the competition or anything like that. It's just like, it's just a good round is just stringing a bunch of really well executed golf shots together. And if you can get to the point where all you're thinking about is how well can I execute this next shot, your golf's going to be in a better state. Like that's for anyone, like whether they're kind of 20 handicapper or a tour player. The guys are on tour when they're like going out and shooting like 60 or 59 or whatever. Like how many of them have you heard after? And you're like, oh, I didn't realize how under par I was, because like literally the only thing they're thinking about at the time is how many shots can I execute well in a row.
Yeah.
That's it. And they're just like, every time they like do it, it's just like, oh, it's like another box tick sort of thing to them. It's just like another good shot.
Yeah. It's more the media and the kind of the folk round about that get themselves all excited about the fact that, oh, we're on 59 watch because this is what's happening.
That's
and
then golf. And I'm sure plenty of them like will get a bit of awareness when they're getting close to like 59 and things like that, or they're on like maybe on track to like a course record. They'll become a bit aware of it.
Yeah.
But like, there's plenty like that. There was a boy the other week that shot like 57 on the Corn Ferry Tour, and he genuinely said they like had no idea what he was on until he came off. Like he didn't realize that like he missed a putt to shoot 56 on the last hole. You know, it's just ridiculous.
He's so in the process,
That's always thinking about is like each shot that he's hitting is just like, right, this is a shot I need to hit. This is how I execute that shot. And then he's just had a day that he just keeps on executing a bunch of shots that he probably does thousands of times in practice. He's just done them all on the same day. And that's why like sometimes these guys will maybe like come off and they'll seem a bit like not that bothered about shooting like 60 and stuff. They'll be like, oh yeah, it was a good day on the golf course. Like I had fun and stuff, but like they don't. I think sometimes like when they shoot like really low, it almost seems like they detach a wee bit from like what the actual score is, and they're just like, I just hit so many good golf shots today.
Yeah.
Like, and it's almost like, yeah, it's great to shoot a good score, but I feel like you get more satisfaction out of just hitting rakes of good golf shots in one day.
Yeah. So we had last year we had Lauren on. She's an LPGA pro, and she does a lot of the kind of mental game stuff. So we had a chat with her, and I was explaining to her kind of my trials and tribulations. And she's like, "So what do you do if you're standing on a, say you're on a par 5, right, and it's like a dog leg? So what would your thought process be?" So I'm like, "Right, let's get this off the tee, and we'll put it into the fairway. And I probably want to be on the left-hand side. So this is where I think I need to aim. So I'm going to aim and set up to the left-hand side so that when that slice comes in, the ball's going to come to the right, right?" So she's like, "Right, okay." So you go and you execute the shot, and then what happens? And I'm like, "Well, it maybe doesn't go where I wanted it to." And she's like, "Well, it won't, because you're not, with what I'm about, you're not good enough to be able to execute that exact shot every time, right?" So she's like, "Why are you thinking about a game plan going forward and forward and forward?" She's like, "What you should be thinking is, so what, now what?" So you walk up to your ball and it's one shot every time. So it's like, right, I am now here. What do I want to do? Right, you just want to get the ball from the rough and progress it up the fairway. Do it. So that is what I'm doing. Whereas me as an amateur trying to think 3 or 4 shots ahead, how do I not put myself into all these problems? She's like, "That's why your head will be screwed up and fried, because yeah, you're standing there with far too many thoughts. So yeah, just try to take it one shot at a time, and not get too ahead of yourself." And yeah, that's probably the mantra that these guys are going by in the zone that they're in, that they're just like, right, this is a lie I've got. This is what I'm going to try and do. And they can then execute what they're trying to do. So
there's obviously like an element of like strategy to it. So at some point you do kind of have to think like at least a shot or two ahead, but you're more just thinking, right, if I'm standing over, well, you'd be like, right, I'd quite like to put the ball in this kind of position. What's the best way of me being able to kind of put it in that area? And then once you get to the shot, it's just like, have a clear picture of the shot you want to hit, and then make sure that the shot that you want to hit is also a shot that you know how to execute.
Yeah.
Like, if you stand up and you hit slices all the time, maybe don't try and hit a draw. Like, maybe don't think, oh, the wind's off to the right, I'm going to hit it up this right-hand side with a draw. It's like, why? You hit a cut like 9 times out of 10. Let's just like deal with it. The ball's going to go maybe like short, like 20 yards shorter, and like you'll have a better chance of being on the fairway.
Yeah. Play the shot you've got, eh?
Aye.
Yeah.
Like, even
I tried that, yes.
Woods, he never hits a shot that he doesn't think he can hit. Or he doesn't. He never tries to hit a shot that he doesn't think he can hit. And just like hit the ones that you know you hit, even 7 times out of 10 in practice, you'd be like, if somebody gave you an odds on a bet and it was like 70% chance it was going to come in, you'd be putting money on it every single time.
Absolutely.
No,
yeah, I played yesterday with one of the guys from the village I'm in, and we've just joined Whitehill House, the wee 9-holer up at Rosewell.
Right.
So we've just joined up there, pure for convenience and kind of decent wee course and things like that. Somewhere we can go and actually work on stuff instead of being at like a course and being kind of chased around. And a couple of the holes that they've got are dog legs, but you need to kind of play a draw. Well, they're suited for a draw. So Dan's saying to me, I'm going to have to learn how to like play shot. He's off 18, I think, and I'm 17. He's like, I'm going to try and learn to play these like shots that will suit this course, because he plays as well with a bit of a kind of fade. And I'm like, oh, I can play draws. And he's like, can you? I was like, yeah, watch this. He's like, what do you do? Turn your hands over? I'm like, nah, I just position my feet. So I've done the kind of have my feet where they should be, and then take the right foot back ever so slightly so that I can just try and draw the ball. I topped it, didn't I? That was me, Billy Big Boss, trying to make it out that I knew what I was doing.
That's a pretty typical thing, by the way, for people that like cut it when they try and draw it. They'll top it or thin it, or like they'll normally hit like really out the heel sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, my dad can draw a ball, but he's been playing for a number of years, but he does it with his hands. So like he turns his hand over, almost like a top spin in tennis is how he describes it. He's doing it. So the club comes over,
like a cross court forehand.
A big draw.
Yeah, it's a good way to think. It's like, so obviously some of it's to do with like how you set up, but it's also a little bit to do with like your hand path. And so like guys that fade the ball at some point, the club has to get maybe a little bit outside of their hands, on the way down. just to like allow for the club to like be able to shift left. Whereas guys that draw it are a little bit better at getting their hands a little bit more behind them and then being able to like work it away from them.
Yep.
And so like
it's very technical.
Aye, but it's just like if you go down the line, it's just like it's not that weird. But the thing is, like, see if you've got somebody that like works it out this way, right, and they're somebody that like normally cuts it and they're trying to hit a draw. Even if you set up a little bit closed, you're so used to coming that way that even if you just do it a little bit less and then you're trying to draw it, you're just going to go like that and almost miss the ball.
Right. Like, I think that's probably what happened to me then.
The club's already outside of your hands, and it's like there's no way for you to get a draw to happen from there. Yeah. It's actually like annoyingly, it's my tendency is for that to happen. Like my club gets a wee bit outside of my hands, but I play my best golf when I'm hitting it somewhat straighter with a draw. Mm-hmm. So occasionally I have days where I'm just like, when I'm swinging it like poorly, if a club gets outside of my hands, I'm just like, I have no idea where the ball's going to go. I can hit it left or right, and it's horrible when those days come out. Fortunately, it's happening less.
Good. But, as your career gets going, that's what you want to happen, eh? That's the thing with me. So, like, as much as I'll be like, oh, I need to kind of aim up the left-hand side of this fairway so that this, my power fade, block, whatever it is, comes back in and it leaves me where I should really be in the middle of the fairway. That's the ones where I 9 times out of 10 end up hitting it dead straight, and then it's in the trees and the garbage and whatever else. So, it definitely fries with your brain. So, right, we'll circle back. Right, so 16-year-old, you picked up these injuries. How did the rest of the life go from there?
So I basically done my backing when I was like 17. Got quite fortunate that I saw a really good GP who put me towards. He basically just said, "Don't waste your time waiting for like an NHS physio for people in the States. Like we get free healthcare, but with like physiotherapy and stuff like that, it takes a really long time to get it. And essentially, what I was explained by the GP is that their job's just to get you back to being able to work and make money. Their job's not there to help you perform a sport at a high level." No. Unfortunately, my GP was really into his sport as well, and I discussed that I was wanting to be a golf professional down the line. So he sent me to a brilliant physio at Fassick, which they've been amazing. I saw a woman called Sandy. I can't remember her surname, but Sandy, she was amazing. She'd been a physio at the Commonwealth Games with I think she mainly worked with people in Scottish rugby and judo and stuff like that. And then she passed me on to a guy called Pete Mitchell that's now based at Morton Hall Golf Club. If anyone's watching this in the Edinburgh area and they play golf and they've got any kind of issues, go see Pete or Neil out there. The boys they're brilliant. Pete's really sorted me out. It took a long time, but yeah, eventually kind of came around. But I ended up. So I basically didn't play golf for about 5 years. I think I was off about 5. I think when I was 17, and then didn't really play golf my last year as a junior just because I was having so much bother on my back, and I didn't really know how to deal with just gradually going back into things. It'd be if my back feels not too bad today, I'm going to go and start hitting balls again, as if it was that streamlined. I feel fine now, so I'm just going to get straight back into doing what I would normally do. And that's just not the case. I just kept on knocking myself back, just not having a good enough understanding in my body at the time. Then I was kind of playing golf here and there. I'd started working in bars and cocktail bars and pubs and stuff when I was 18.
That was going to be my intro, by the way. I really wanted to say that I didn't meet you while you were working in a cocktail bar.
Yeah.
Americans won't understand that one. Americans won't understand that, but we do.
Yeah, I used to work in cocktail bars for a while, and my thought process was, if I'm working in a bar at night, when it's dark, I wouldn't be able to hit golf balls at that time anyway. I was like, I'd rather spend my time making money when it's dark and I don't feel like, oh, I'm missing anything out. And then I can practice and play during the day, which to an extent works, but it absolutely obliterates like your sleep and recovery and stuff, which I didn't really learn more about until probably the last few years when I really got back into my golf.
Yeah.
But yeah, my handicap like kept going up. I think I ended up going up to like an 8 handicap or something. I was hacking about. And I ended up, I actually caddied once when I was probably like 20-ish or something, with a boy that we were both probably around about the same level when we were in the Lothians. In fact, we played that Lothians boys qualifying together, the one that like I had a fractured wrist. And since then he's played like a few seasons on like the Tartan Tour. I think he qualified for the Europro at one point as well. Like quality golfer. Won like the Southeast District in Scotland as well. His name's Rory Smith as well. I'll drop his name in there as well. Why not?
Quite right.
He's quality swing on him, hits it a mile. But yeah, probably like when I saw how good he started getting on, there was probably an element of jealousy, seeing guys that like you knew you could compete with quite easily, like 4 or 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden you're just like, I'm miles behind you now, like what's happened here, sort of thing. So was working away in the cocktail bars, like kind of started working on my game a wee bit, trying to sort myself out a bit, and then I tore the meniscus in my right knee at a festival. I really wish it was something cool, but I was at a festival at the Glenfiddich distillery, and all the like ground there was kind of like just like knobbly and like uneven, and I probably had more beers and whiskey than I should have had. So I was like walking to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, didn't notice one of these slopes, and like landed on the side of my foot, and it just went like that in the way. And like didn't feel it at the time, obviously. Like it wasn't too bad at the time, but woke up in the morning, my knee was just massive.
That always happens when the whiskey wears off, eh?
Oh, it was horrible. It was absolutely brutal. Didn't leave the festival though. Still was a trooper. Much to my boss at the time's disappointment. But I was just like, well, there's no point in me going home now. I was like, I'm not going to be able to work regardless. So yeah, I ended up took like some sick leave, but obviously you're not making any money at the time. I was like, I can't really justify to take this much time off. I don't have the money to like deal with that. So I was like, I'm going to have to go and get a sit down job because I'm going to have to get surgery on my knee at some point as well. So I went and I ended up working the fraud team at RBS for a while. So I was just working at a bank. And for anyone else that's worked in like a call center, honestly, it's such just soul destroying work. Like people are only calling you when they want to complain about things. And like I was looking about this like the call room floor, and everyone just looked miserable. And I was like, this just like isn't for me. And I knew that like the bar trade probably wasn't for me anymore either. But I'd kind of started playing golf again once my knee had recovered. And my golf kind of started coming together, like felt like it was coming together quite quickly. Not like by any means like I was playing amazing golf, but I was like, I think I went from like 8 down to 5 again quite quickly. And I was just like, oh, like, this is starting to come back to me again. Like, I'm starting to pick up all the little things again. Yeah. And I wasn't getting any bother, like, or as much bother with my back anymore. So I actually remember I called my dad when I was working at RBS, because I discussed like thinking, in fact, RBS might just be like my career now, because like you can make decent money doing it and it's like quite stress free. It's easy enough. But I called my dad about it, and I was just like, look, I'm going to quit RBS and go back into working in the bars because I want to pursue like professional golf. And he actually got a bit emotional about it. Like, not that he'd admit it, but he was like, he asked me a few questions, and he was just like, are you sure about it? Like, you know, like think about like what the like kind of worst case scenario could be and stuff. I was like, well, worst case scenario is my golf never gets that good, and I'm a coach for the rest of my life, and I'm like, I could absolutely love doing that. I love the game. I love teaching people. I was just like, best case scenario, all of a sudden I figure out how to play golf like one of the big boys, and I get to compete against like really high level golfers, which is kind of what every golf professional actually wants to do, whether they want to admit it or not. Everyone gets into it because they want to play at an elite level. So yeah, I went back into the bars and then played out like the rest of that year. And then I think it was around that time that like COVID came about. And obviously golf was was the first thing that kind of came back in. And like you were able to start getting into it again. So I bought a net during lockdown, which probably half of your viewers decided to do as well. Bought a net, and I was like taking loads of videos and like working on my swing and stuff. And I remember the first round I played on a golf course again was a medal at Dunstan. Absolutely roasted this thing off the first tee, and I was just like, "Oh, it's been paying off," sort of thing. Like during, and like all my injuries went away because I wasn't working late in the bar. I was sleeping really well. I was like, all you could do in lockdown was exercise. So I was like running, and I had like some gym equipment in my house as well. So I was training a bit, and I just like body felt great. And I think I came down from like 5 to scratch like that year. And I was just like, I felt really good. I got into like the final in my club championships, and like at Dunstan, that's like no mean feat. I was playing against guys that like had all played in like Lothian stuff and like played for the Lothians before, and I got beat in the final as well, much like my junior finals had went as well. I just didn't have the stuff on with me on the day, and the other boy he's been playing great golf. So yeah, I kind of was just like, right, well, I'm getting back into it, sort of thing. This is good. And then last 2 seasons, like kind of after COVID, when things like really opened up again, and like bars were open late at night, and I was working late at night again. That's when I really noticed how much it affected my golf. So my handicap actually like went back up to about like, I was kind of jumping around like about 2-ish, quite a bit. And it was just every competition I turned up to. One, I was struggling to hit a driver for the last 2 years. Like just technically was just poor.
Yeah.
And also you're like going out to try and play like 72 holes and 36 holes, which you're probably going to be teeing off about 7 a.m. So you're going to have to wake up about 5. And had been used to going to bed at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Morning. So it's like all of a sudden you're like waking up, and quite often I'd play like one of the rounds really well. I'd either like start off and be groggy and struggle at the start and then have a decent second round, or quite often I would get off to like a decent start and be like swinging it good and feeling all right, and you would just like run out of energy so quickly. And I was like, to be honest, when I was working in the cocktail bars as well, I was drinking probably way more than I should have been, just because it's there all the time. And it's like, probably wasn't in a particularly good like headspace when I was like working in cocktail bars. I was like I said, drinking a lot, even like the last 2 years there, and when I'd been in it previously as well, I drank quite a lot. I think I've got a way healthier relationship with alcohol now than I did before. Essentially every year now I'm trying to make it like my driest year yet. So less so this week because I'm on holiday and it's like my birthday coming up. Like, so I'm going to have a couple of beers, but I feel a lot more like in control of it. It's not like I drink out of habit now. I'll drink if and when I feel like it.
Yeah, everybody was a bit like that. See, during that whole lockdown thing. So I'm the same, right? I'm not an overly big drinker, right? But during lockdown, when all you could do was either go to the golf course or have a few beers. So you ended up going to the golf course and then coming home, and then God, I got myself involved with WhatsApp group chats with a few of the boys where we were like, right, you need to try this IPA for Morrison's because it's a really good one, and then you would rate it or whatever, and it just became the thing that you did. Now we have a lot of listeners who probably enjoy a drink, and they should do so responsibly. But any peak athlete will tell you that they don't need the hangover the next game day, and a bit of a clear mind in how you should be trying to compete. So I don't think you can do the two. I've got pals that will be going to a Friday night and then good few drinks, and then we'll be playing early doors on the Sunday, and they're like hanging out their backsides until maybe the 4th or 5th hole when they've sobered up a wee bit or whatever else. It's just and they're not peak athletes. They're just guys that want to go and have a hit on a Saturday, and they're struggling. So I can imagine if you're trying to make this your job and pay the bills and support a family and stuff like that, and you're out drinking on the Friday night and then trying to compete on the Saturday, it would be a big no-go, I would think.
Like, so I end up like I got like one of the like root bands a couple of years ago as well, because I was just like, I knew that drink was affecting my performance. Like, obviously my sleep was wrecked, and I was just like, I can only deal with this as much as I can deal with it, due to like have the job that I have and like the competitions that I'm playing in. I can deal with it to the best of my ability, but like it's going to be a limiting factor on how I'm able to perform and how I'm able to recover and things like that. And like sleep has a big like correlation with injuries as well. Like guys that have like really poor sleep as well, or their likelihood of getting injuries really increases as well. It takes way longer for like your muscles to recover. Like fatigue comes in quicker. Like I've read up quite a bit about it basically after having a lot of issues with it in the past. So I basically bought that like Whoop thing to figure out like, well, what can I do? Like how many things can I stack in my favor, regardless of me having like poor sleep? And it's just like really trying to like sort out the diet a bit and like all these like little things. Like, and honestly, some of them is like, it's surprising. Like the day before a competition and stuff, people are like, oh, you need to make sure you like eat healthy and stuff like that. It's like, I've had some of my best recovery scores the day after scranning a McDonald's, by the way. And I'll wake up and I'm like, I can run through a wall just now. I'm like, because you're just like, you've got loads of calories in you, loads of like carbs. Like I probably don't eat as much on the golf course as other guys and stuff as well.
No, I had a bit of a health thing about a year and a half ago, so I got the Whoop as well, and it is amazing. I mean, how it knows when you're going to be ill the next game day is the one that gets me. You know, like you'll have your score and it's like, I think I'm in for something, and then next game day you're coughing and spluttering. But I tried to kind of avoid the caffeine, but I actually have some better scores when I've had a coffee. As long as I've not had one 4 hours before I go to sleep, and I wait 4 hours when I wake up before I have one, it gives me a couple on the plus boxes, and the same ones with the alcohol as well. So you know if you've got, we were out the other week. I was out with my wife and we had a couple of drinks, nothing major, and we were at a country night. So we had a couple of dances and stuff like that. It wasn't even necessarily a late night, back at 12 or something, and I was like 15% recovered the next game day because my heart rate was so elevated during the night, but it was because I was drinking like vodka and full fat lemonade. So all these type of things that puts all your, and I am kind of borderline diabetic and stuff, so I shouldn't really be drinking them, but I didn't have any diet. But it's amazing how it does all those wee things do impact you. And I'm just looking at it from a kind of health aspect, whereas you're looking at it as a performance aspect. So it's interesting to know that, like you said, sometimes people eat healthy the day before you're going to go out, but good old golden arches seems to be the right thing to power you through some of them.
It sorted me out great a couple of times, man. It's unbelievable. I don't know why. I think it's just all the calories and the fat and stuff that's in it. But I think it's more to do with the carbohydrates. There's so many carbs in it, and I've worked really well off the carbs. Or at least that's what I've found so far. But like the way you've got to think about it, like see if you're like a high level athlete, like whether it's golf or like whatever, and even just now, if you're thinking, like, even if you're like the best in whatever your country at a sport, and you think, oh, I can get away with having a couple of beers and stuff, and I'm still probably going to beat people. It's like, yeah, you might just now, but like, it's not going to take long before people start catching up with you. And you've got to remember, like, it's not like you're competing against mugs. Like, it's not like you're competing against like people that aren't trying. All the people you're competing against want to bury you, and they want to bury you as quickly as possible. Nobody's out there to like be your best pal in that and like can cheer you on. At the end of the day, like they're competitors. And it's the same on the golf course. Like, as much as we all work in like a kind of gentlemanly manner, and like there's a lot of etiquette involved, at the end of the day, like, as much as we'll be like, oh yeah, good shot and stuff, it's like, realistically, they don't care what you've done.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm playing with guys and I'm competing against guys, I don't care if they've hit a good shot or a bad shot or whatever. It's like, then even like different if it's like someone you're like mates where you're like, well, if I'm not going to hit a good shot, then I'd rather it was that guy because like he's one of my mates. I hope he does well. But outside of that, you're just like, I don't really care what this guy shoots today. I want to beat everyone here.
Yeah.
Like, you're turning up to compete at the end of the day. You're not turning up to make pals with everyone.
No.
And especially as it starts to get to like higher levels and stuff, like, you're like, they guys really don't care. Like, again, I've heard loads of stories. I'm going to play in a couple of like tartan tour things this year, and like I've heard some stories for guys that are just like, some of the guys out there are just like a bit rough, like they'll like barely speak to them. So I was like, yeah, because like some of them, this is their full-time job. Like some of them like just play time. They don't coach or anything. There's like a lot of pressure on them to go out and compete and like essentially like win and try and get a challenge tour card, because otherwise like they might not be able to support their family.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot.
It's got the competitive edge from there. I mean, you've obviously got that famous quote for Seve, I look into their eyes, shake their hands, pat their back, wish them luck, but inside I'm thinking, I'm going to bury you. And that's the attitude that's the attitude you have to have. It's nice, as you said, there's a lot of etiquette in the game, and you need to be nice, and you're going to be spending 4 or 5 hours with this person. So you don't want to be completely like thingy bums, but you have to have a degree of focus. And if it comes down to, well, I'm feeding my family because I've made this putt against you, then that's what's going to be, that's what needs to take over from there.
It's not like you don't wish anyone bad. The way I always explain it is like, I hope the person like I'm playing against shoots whatever 4 or 5 under, as long as I'm shooting 6 or 7 under.
Yeah,
that's it. As long as like I hope you have a lovely round, but I hope my round's still better.
Yeah,
like that's it. Like, that's like it. And that's also why guys like want to compete against better players. Like, there's no fun in beating somebody that's like not playing well. It's actually like at times a bit like sad, but you don't enjoy it. And everyone's had a match where they've played one of their mates and their mate's just playing terrible, and they're like, oh, okay, like they get to like the 12th or so, it's like, let's just like scrap the match and like we'll try and help you out with your game, because it's just like it becomes a hard watch.
Yeah,
everyone has a like way better time. I've had way more fun, in fact, losing a match to a guy when I've played really well and they've just played a bit better than having like won a match against a guy that's just hacked it about the place.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've just like, because you just turn off, like you like stop trying almost, like I try my best not to. You're still trying to like can beat them as early as possible and just like guarantee the win. But if somebody's just like hacking it about in front of you, it starts to get a bit like there's almost like nothing to keep you switched on, and like feel like, oh, like there's no pressure involved anyway. You're like, whatever. I'm like 4 up,
and that's where it must be hard for guys like yourself, so to keep the kind of motivation for that going. So you're right, when I'm out with the guys and we're all 15, 16, 17, 18 handicappers, and we're smashing the ball about the place and whatever else, and the focus goes, but you still need to be laser focused with this. If the person you're playing with is having an absolute stinker, you've still got a game to play, so you need to keep yourself switched on.
The big difference is, like, see if an amateur's playing poor, like, and they're like really struggling. I'm not talking about elite amateurs, obviously, but like the average amateur is having a bad day. They're having a bad day and they're probably not able to turn it around. Like high level golfers, like they could go out and be 5 over for the front line and then shoot 5 under in the back.
Yeah.
Like they can all of a sudden just like flip a switch and like things will get going and they'll get hot all of a sudden. You're like, if you're not still trying to play your best golf against them, you can be like, oh, I feel like I can go on cruise control and be like level par coming in, and then all of a sudden you're going to extra holes and you're like, what's happened here? I was burying this boy.
Yeah. This should have been done and dusted by now.
But it's easy done. Like it doesn't take much for like people to just like switch off a bit and the other person just to turn on a little bit more, and all of a sudden the match flips.
You've got a game on, eh?
You have to.
obviously with the tartan tour and things, that's obviously like the best golfers from kind of the area and within Scotland that will be competing in that before they move on to the next one. So, well, I wanted to ask you what you think of the state of Scottish golf at the moment. So, I have, when I was at Liberton before, as I said, they had a really good junior section. And then the juniors grew up, became adults, started winning everything at that level. The juniors thing kind of dropped off a wee bit. So, when I was a member there about 3 years ago, I took over as junior convener. Mainly because my son had joined, and I wanted him to play now. My son plays football. He's ultra competitive. If you're no first year last, trademark Ricky Bobby, you're no first year last. That's kind of he's got that ingrained in him, right? Yeah. So I took him to the golf a few times, decent enough wee swing. Tried to get him involved, get my handicap, because I thought, well, if he's got something, it then gives him the motivation to work on it and continue trying to get better. But the game's too slow for him, right? Right. You walk up, you hit the ball, you walk up again, you hit the ball again, and you stick it. So it just doesn't grab his attention. So he kind of fell by the wayside. The junior section kind of dried up. There wasn't really a lot of kids coming and playing in the competitions. We then got 5 or 6 of them that were saying, oh, this is our last year at juniors. We want to play as part of the team. So we arranged the kind of team games, team matches, and we might be playing against Duddingston, things like that. And then, they were good. So against Duddingston, and then we were struggling to field a team, right? Because they had other sports. So the thing at the moment, I'm determined to get done, and I'd be good to get you back on again to discuss it. I want to put together kind of like a round table and get some guys in and see what we can do to, the PGA Tour and Liverpool, like we're trying to grow the game and stuff, right? Well, as I said, when you look on Scottish Cricket website, they've got something like 250,000 likes and like followers on their social media, and golf's got about 1,500. Or 2,000, right? There's hardly any. There's such a big gulf. So what I want to do is try and get a group together, have a bit of a discussion, maybe some of the other junior conveners, and see what they are doing to try to grow the game. Now, these are supposed to be the next levels of pros that are going to be coming through. So you get the 12, 13, 14-year-olds, they go play, they start playing, they then get on to kind of tartan tours and then Euro pros, and then they look out, then they move on to there. So there's obviously a lot of good guys on the tartan tour and the Euro Pro tours, with the exception of Bobby Mack, who we love on this show. Like, we're big Bobby Mack fans. He really is the only kind of Scotsman that seems to be doing things and really competing at the highest level. So why have Scottish golfers they're not as prominent, or don't appear to be as prominent as they used to be? The likes of the Standy Lyles and the Torrances and all that. We had a good reputation for being a nation of good golfers. What's the kind of stumbling blocks, do you think? Or is it just that they're maybe not getting the recognition that they need and they are all out there? What do you think?
I don't know if I'd agree with, I actually think at the moment Scottish golf, as a whole, is in a pretty good state. I would say that the bit that's missing really is, like you said, it's the juniors and stuff. I don't think there's as many juniors playing, but I think this it kind of comes in peaks and troughs. I think you get a group of mates that are all juniors that all decide to play golf at the same time, and then that's one club's junior section going to be brilliant basically for the next 3 years or something, and then they go into the adults, and then it switches, and then someone else is the same thing. In terms of the professional game, Bobby Mack's quality, always getting played Ryder Cup. He's playing at the highest standard. He's the best Scottish golfer on the planet at the moment. But I mean, we've also got guys like Callum Hill and Ewan Ferguson, Grant Forrest, Connor Syme, all on the DP World Tour. They're all excellent golfers, unbelievable, total world class, and it takes so little for one of them to go from where they currently are to be in the Colin Montgomerys of the world, or really kicking on to that next level, like Sam Torrance and stuff like that. Guys aren't that far away. The thing I would say now is that overall, I would say the level of competition now is higher than it's ever been. And Scotland's a tiny, tiny place. Like, there's so few people in Scotland compared to the likes of the States or even England. Like, England, like, there's more people that live in London than live in the whole of Scotland. So, like, even statistically, it's more likely that there's going to be more good golfers coming out of England just because there's way more people. It's the same with places like wherever, Germany or Holland or whatever, Denmark,
Spain, like, something like that.
All these places are just like, they're big, and like you said, Spain's a huge golfing country, and it's a massive country. Yeah. So like, of course, they're going to have quite a few really, really elite players coming out like off that country, just because there's going to be more players playing in that country as well, more competition in that country. I think if Scotland really wants to grow their golf, then I personally think Scottish golf has to have a long, hard look at themselves. I've been really unimpressed by how they've dealt with Scottish amateur golf in the last few years. And regardless of what anyone thinks, that's the breeding ground for elite level golf in the future. They're elite level pros, and obviously you'll get the guys that play for Scotland that'll get some opportunities and stuff, but it's just it's so poorly run. So essentially, one of my best mates sent them a huge email because no one knew what the standings were for the Order of Merit. They hadn't announced who the winner was for the Order of Merit until beginning of this year, about a month ago or something. They actually announced who the Order of Merit winner was for last year.
Right.
Why do you not know that in October? Just put a spreadsheet together and put the points in when you need to, and then you'll see who's got the most points at the end of the season. It takes 2 minutes. Yeah. I could have done that in high school. I could have done that when I was 16, taking standard grade admin. Yeah. It's not that hard. You've got guys that are getting paid 50 grand a year probably to do the most basic tasks, and they can't get it done. It's embarrassing. Yeah.
It's a bit like if it's not broke, don't fix it. But they're not actually doing anything to try to improve it. It just ran, so they just leave it running the way it is.
It's not even if it's not broke, don't fix it. They don't have anything to fix or break. They haven't created anything. Their social media is so poorly run. The whole even the scheduling's mental. There's so few opportunities, right, for Scottish amateurs to get a world amateur ranking. So why at any point would they think, let's put two of the biggest events in the year on the same day or the same weekend? These guys, they work full-time jobs as well. They've got families to provide for, but they want to be able to play at an elite level and get an opportunity to maybe kick on for, and maybe some of them will turn pro down the line if they get an opportunity to do so. But last year, the North of Scotland and the South East District was on the same weekend. They're both world amateur ranking events. Scottish guys only get about even 10 a year to have a look at. You probably get about 5 chances a year to try and win and gain a world amateur ranking. Because Scotland's such a small place, you have to win an event basically to get a world amateur ranking, or if it's a Scottish amateur, then you have to come in the top 15, I think, right, to get any kind of world amateur ranking. And then the world amateur ranking will dictate whether you manage to get into the Lynx Trophy, which is also obviously another opportunity in Scotland. But it wouldn't surprise me if they go and put an area teams championship or something on the same weekend. It's just they don't coordinate with anything. Yeah. And, these guys are passionate about their golf. They want to play as many events as possible,
and they're not to pick an either or.
They want to be able to compete for their area, and they want to be able to try and get world amateur rankings. But at the end of the day, they've got a full-time job. They have to be allowed an opportunity to book their holidays. These guys use all their holiday days to play in events throughout the year. I know guys that just basically don't go on holiday. They don't go abroad anywhere. They don't do anything. They just they'll maybe go away for like a weekend or something with their missus. And outside of that, it's just like all of my holidays are dedicated to me being able to play golf. Kind of go and try and get a world amateur ranking, because maybe if I get a world amateur ranking, then maybe I'll get a chance to play in other events where it's easier for me to boost my ranking further. And then maybe if I do that, maybe I'll manage to get into the British amateur. And then maybe one year I'll win the British amateur and I'll manage to get an invite to play the Open or Augusta. And who knows, maybe I'll end up having a career in golf after that. But these opportunities can't come about if they stifle the opportunities that are given to Scottish amateurs. So that's my current rant on
nice.
on the Scottish Golf Union or Scottish Golf or whatever they are now.
Like I said, it's an open forum. You can rant about whatever you want, and there needs to be changes. So unless people start speaking up about these things, then nothing is going to change. It's just going to stay the status quo, and that's what's going to happen.
The amount of talented golfers there are in Scotland that could absolutely compete against like guys down in like England or like Ireland or whatever, like it's ridiculous. There's like so many of them, and like so many of them that end up getting like overlooked for selection stuff just because like they don't get the opportunity to play in enough events. You know, like the guys that are playing in the Scotland squad, as much as they're all excellent players, there's probably other guys out there that are like just as good that could squeeze into these events had they been given some sort of opportunity to have a few more chances to play in events, and like prove that they're worthy to then get into a like Scotland squad. But they can't do that if they're only able to play like
handful of events,
like 2/3 of the events because they decide to put them all on the same days.
Aye.
You know what I mean? It's psychotic. Like, how hard is it to like organize a fixture list?
Yep.
Yeah, we've got like club secretaries up and down the country that can do it for like 40 grand a year and stuff, and you've got guys there that like can't do it to save themselves. They're getting paid just as much or more.
Yeah,
I'll do a fixture sheet for them if they want.
Yep, just draft them up, send it to them.
Give me 500 quid and I'll do the sheet for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's no difficult.
I could do it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Get them emailed.
Get them emailed. So you've spoken about trying to play a couple of the Tartan Tour events this year. What's the kind of long and short term goals then? What's the plans for this year? You're going to try and play some of those and then force your way into other tournaments from there, or what does it look like for the rest of the season?
So if anything, I would say like this year, Tartan Tour events are probably going to be the bigger events that I play this season. I'm probably not going to play that many of them, just because they're quite expensive to enter and I don't have much money.
Right. You're looking for sponsors?
Down the line, yeah, probably. But at the moment, I'm kind of splitting my focus a little bit between working through my PGA course and also working on my golf. Quite frankly, my golf's not in a position that I think I could justify asking anyone for sponsorship.
Right.
That's my opinion on it. If I'm at the point where I'm turning up to like the like young professionals events, like the 1-2 day events, and I'm like up there all the time and I'm knocking on the door, or if I'm playing Tartan Tour events and I'm knocking on the door there quite regularly, then I would maybe have a look into like noising people up for some sponsorship and a bit of help.
Yeah.
So short term is like see how I get on. Like I've never played. I've played one professional event so far, and it was like a pretty small event, and it wasn't even an individual one. It was like one of these. I think it was a better ball event at Craigiellaw.
Right.
And like it was all right. It was fine. Played okay in it. Like we could have done a lot better. But like I don't really know what the standard is in the professional game at the moment. I know it's high in the Tartan Tour. I absolutely know that. But like I would say my game now is a lot better than it has been the last couple of years. But I know that I'm pretty self-aware. I know I'm a long way off like being like a world beater or anything like that. But I intend on like in the long term, I just want to see how good I can get.
Yeah.
And I think that should be the goal for everyone. Is like there's no point in obviously the dream for everyone's to like every pro is to get on the PGA Tour, the European Tour, or whatever. But you have to just like put that to a side and not put a timeline on it. I think when you start being like, oh, I need to get to this stage by this time, you start really stressing yourself out about it. Like last year, because like my golf was pretty poor, I was like stressing out about my golf. I was like, oh, I didn't want to turn pro and like can be rubbish at golf basically, or feel terrible about my golf. But eventually when it came around to me turning pro, like a week or so afterwards, I was just like settled into like my practice, felt okay, and like Max Homer made a good point about it, just being like every like pretty high level golfer is like one swing away from like wanting to quit the game, and also one swing thought away from thinking they could win the Open.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just like it's a total knife's edge that you live on all the time. Like golf's psychotic as anything.
Yeah.
Or golfers are psychotic as anything. But you kind of just have to like keep chipping away at it. And you see guys that have struggled for years and stuff, and then all of a sudden they get onto like the DP World Tour when they're like 35 or like 40 and stuff, and they've just been like a club pro for it. Like, yeah, like Michael Block and stuff, like out of nowhere, but not out of nowhere. By the way, he was unbelievable in his state already. Like he was already winning everything in his state, and like had played in multiple PGAs before he eventually had like a really good finish in one. But like that's he's just like not stopped chipping away.
Yeah. So Logan that does the podcast with us, he's from the same area as Michael Block, and he's competed against him or been in competitions where he's been on, and he's like the boy is phenomenal, like in the like Southern California area and stuff. So it wasn't quite an actual tin cup story, you know, like this guy came from absolutely nowhere, like he knew what he was doing and he can move a ball around the course, and it wasn't quite as much of a Cinderella story as the way it was made out to be. It was slightly different, but that's the type of thing. So the dream for him is to be on the PGA Tour and make enough money that he can support his family and whatever else. But you do have to just keep chipping away at it, and if it takes years, it takes years. Exactly. If that's what you want to do, that's how you're going to have to get it.
I think so many guys who could have potentially been like world beaters down the line are just guys that maybe gave up too early.
Yeah.
It's like, but fair enough to them. Like some guys just like, they say to themselves, like, I don't really want to like just be skint for ages as well. Because like, it's really expensive. And like, the thing that a lot less glamorous side for like professional golf, especially when you're playing on like mini tours and stuff like that, is like, it's expensive to play on them. And even if you win the Order of Merit, you don't make that much money.
Right.
Like the guy on the Tartan Tour last year, Reese Thompson, unbelievable golfer, by the way. Like I think he won 4 times last year. So he was like first in the Order of Merit. He only made like 20 odd grand in prize money.
Right. Okay.
You've got to think like expenses are going to be bare minimum, like trying to do it on the cheap, probably it's like 6 or 7 grand for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often these guys try and raise about 10 for their year. Or they'll try and raise even more than that so that they can like eat and like and not have to like work all the time, and so they can still actually do like enough practice. But like that's the thing, like see, like imagine he didn't have any financial backing and he's not really able to like work that much, then he's probably only made like 13 grand or something this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, and it was the best in Scotland, basically.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think, oh, PGA, you're a tour pro, professional golfer and stuff, you're going to be absolutely swimming in it. But like there is the harsh reality. And obviously he is still paying to enter these competitions, isn't he?
Yeah. It's like, so Tartan Tour events are like, it's like a little bit over 200 quid each entry. Mm-hmm. And it's like 13 events, I think, during the year. So like right away, that's just about like 3 grand or something.
Yeah.
Like you can knock a million miles off 3 grand. And then you've got to think about your food, your fuel, your accommodation, like quickly racks up. Like, it doesn't take long for you to just like chuck $7,000 or $8,000 at like a season.
Yeah.
And then
the top earners only coming away with 20. Yeah.
Aye. And you've got to think about coaching as well. Like the guys that like will go and see a coach regularly, their strength coach. Like some of these guys see a mental coach as well. Like some guys will get lucky and maybe a coach will want to like back them sort of thing and like help them out a little bit. But yeah, it's seriously like it's total razor's edge sort of stuff in like professional golf. But quite frankly, I love that.
It does sound exciting. It actually does sound exciting. You know that you're playing for your livelihood, and I suppose it'd be slightly different. So, like, a certain age now, wife and 2 kids, mortgages to pay, all those type of things. So that is, imagine that having to be what keeps your family in the life that they're accustomed. You know, like whether you make the cut in this one of these 13 events. Yeah, it's scary, but I suppose it would be the exciting part of it as well.
Like, it's totally mental. But like some guys really thrive under like that kind of pressure, and they love like having all that pressure on them. It maybe helps them focus, but there's so many guys that are like, lots of guys are honest about it as well. You'll see guys that turn pro and then they go back to like they get their amateur status back, and they're just like, I couldn't deal with the pressure with trying to hold a putt for like potential a mortgage payment and things like that. Like it's mental. It's so stressful, but it's just like I'll love every bit of like that kind of idea. Like I've been involved in it much yet. I might in like 4 or 5 years down the line really regret that I've said that and be like, nah, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe I'll just stick to teaching people. Maybe this is stupid.
We'll bring you back on when that happens.
Yeah,
and then you could be like, remember I told you all that stuff, Craig? Well, I've decided I don't actually like the pressure.
I was just like, nah, I'm a liar. I was like, I shouldn't have done any of that. It was stupid. I should just stuck to coaching.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the other side. It's like the whole idea like going into golf as a career as well. It's just like there's so many avenues you can go down. Like there's guys that are really high level players that turn pro and like they'll still play as a pro, but they can coach full time. And it's like it's not really a job. It's like, and you're cutting about with people and teaching them all day and like talking about golf and like being involved in the game all the time anyway. It's just like, it doesn't really feel like hard work. Yeah, it's just like, it's pretty relaxed. So like,
yeah,
the way that I see it is like my worst case scenario is that I'm like a golf coach, and my aim would be as a golf coach to become like an elite level golf coach. Like try and be one of the best coaches on the planet.
Yeah,
I don't really see the point in doing anything kind of half-heartedly. You have to get fired into it.
Yeah, and even that's difficult now because there's so many great coaches.
Unbelievably difficult. But the thing is, you've just got to like, a lot of them end up like getting their name because they coach like one guy to like getting onto like the European tour or something, and then some of these guys will come and see them because they're just like, oh, you're swinging it great, and I like what you're doing now. And it's like, who's it you're seeing? And then like guys jump about coaches all the time, like at a high level.
Yeah.
Some of them will stick with the same guy forever, like, but some guys will switch about quite a bit.
You got a coach just now? I
do, yeah. So my like you get like when you're doing the PGA course, you get a thing called like a training professional as well.
Okay.
My training professional is also my coach and had been my coach for a while. So like you ask basically them if they want to be your training professional. Otherwise, like if I didn't get I was already seeing him as my coach prior to me starting the PGA course. And then it just so happened that a job came up at Kings Acre while I was like looking for a job for me to do my course, because you have to like work a certain amount of time in the golf industry every week as well as part of your course. It's like on the job training sort of thing.
Right.
So it just so happened it came about that they were looking for somebody to fill a position and I was looking for a position myself. So my training professional is also my coach, which is like quite handy. Like he's a brilliant coach. I don't know if I named him already. His name's Kurt Mungle. He's brilliant. If you're anywhere in Edinburgh or in Scotland, you're looking for somebody for a lesson. If you're not going to come and see me, go and see Kurt.
No, he is good. I've had a lesson with Kurt before on the TrackMan. Sorted out a few wee bits and pieces, and you know, when he does that comparison thing with the swings. So he had me as a comparison with Cameron Champ, which I was quite happy with, because
that's a generous one, by the way. That's nice.
Can hit a ball. I know, that's what I thought. Really, I wanted Ernie Els or Oosthuizen, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like, go and just let me have that buttery smooth, and this is what I'll think. And he was like, see how Champ's like, he's powering properly into it, and Craig, and he's up, and that was my comparison. But no, I thought Kurt was really, really good. And I think Alistair works up there as well, doesn't Alistair's up at Kings Acre as well sometimes, isn't he?
Yeah, it's all kind of came full circle. So Alistair's like one of the coaches there as well. He only does a couple of days a week, and he works a little bit at Broomy now as well, which is like right next to Kings Acre. He helps out the head pro there as well. He helps him at the shop a little bit so he can get time off. But yeah, Kurt's up, Alistair's up there, sorry, as well, and like it's good like chatting to him on like a professional level. I actually done my work experience with Alistair as well when I was a junior at Duddingston. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a brilliant squad of guys at Kings Acre. Like we've got Ian Butcher there as well, who's like a really well known coach in like kind of the Edinburgh and Scotland area. He's quality. They've all helped out like kind of coaching at like various levels, and like I think Kurt done like Lothian's boys coaching for a while, and he coached like the Merkison team and stuff for a while as well. Like he's quality, like really good guys to learn about. Kurt's super technical, which I quite like.
Yeah.
Other people might sometimes like struggle a bit with it. I think he'll like makes it simpler for people that maybe want it to be simpler. But I like to know things. I like to understand things. So he's quite good at like taking a bit of time and going into a bit of detail with me. And he also loves to give me an absolute hiding. Like I leave so many sessions just like tired and so, and he knows like I'll put the effort in. If he asks me to like do something, I'm doing it. No point in paying somebody to get a lesson and not doing the things they're asking you to do or put the effort in that is required. But see, like during the summer and stuff, like I've had sessions in the summer where I've like left the place absolutely sweating buckets, and then I've had sessions. I've hit balls middle of December. Is like there was snow on the ground at the time. It was like about like -3 degrees, and I was hitting shots barefoot. Absolutely mental.
Yeah, because you had some sort of technical part in it, was it?
Yeah, like we're working a little bit on footwork and stuff, but I couldn't hit that many balls when in bare feet when it was that cold. I stopped being able to feel my feet after a while, but a good thing at practice for a lot of people actually can figure out their footwork a little bit.
So speaking about footwork then, right, and we've already touched on Scheffler. How long realistically is he going to get away with having that swing where the foot comes off the floor and he does the wee dance move? He's going to injure himself surely at some point.
I would say, like, if the perfect storm happens, right, then there's every chance he could slip and like hurt an ankle, right?
Yeah.
But see, from like a positional standpoint, like, see if you like watch his swing in slow motion and you like look at him at impact and like the positions he gets, like on his backswing and on the way down, everything looks so good for so long. And like, see if you watch his swing repeatedly. The big thing that I notice is like his right foot. See if I can get right through the camera. Like, if this is his feet like this, his right foot passes. Sorry, go that way. Passes like behind his left. Oh no, sorry, didn't like be like that way. Almost kind of like his like right foot goes behind his left. So from a ball striking standpoint, all that's going to do is stop his right hip from being able to come forward. It's quite good for keeping you in your posture. Like if you ever look at like Max Homa hitting like the ball, I think he's got the best footwork in golf. Like his right heel's basically on the ground the whole time. So he's like great at keeping like the right hip, like right side of the pelvis from like pushing forward. And anytime that happens, you just like run out of a lot of space, and like your like wrist angles will get a bit weird, your hand path will get affected, like everything gets, you get just an absolute doing from a ball striking perspective if your like right hip pops forward. So Scheffler's right foot going back behind his left foot, I think can only be like useful to him like striking the ball solidly on a regular basis. and like he's mobile and strong enough and flexible enough to be able to like still clear his hips plenty efficiently while he does that. So it's just like, why not? All power to him. He's hitting the ball amazing now. I'm going to start trying to do his footwork soon.
Everybody is.
Honestly, it's unbelievable. I just like nobody is striking the ball anywhere near as good as him. He's about a shot better than everyone else on the planet.
Yeah.
And by ball striking, like strokes gained ball striking, I think he's a shot better than second place. Which, by the way, that's like unbelievable.
That's a big thing, yeah.
The rest of the field after that are like within like less than a tenth of a shot each other. So the fact that he's like a whole shot better than everyone else in ball striking, it's like a little bit Tiger-esque in terms of like having a gap that big being better than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's like starting to get like the putter a little bit hotter as well, that is terrifying.
That's frightening, yeah. We spoke about that before where he was, he just couldn't get that going, and then all of a sudden they've got it, and he's still only about 3 or 4 weeks into using that putter probably. So, he's going to be a danger for the rest of the year and going forward again if he continues with that.
It's mental. It's like it already been like that close to like the amount of times that I've watched him nearly win an event and he's dead last in putting is just like a testament to how good his ball striking is.
Yeah.
I mean, like if he's even just like in the top 2/3 in the PGA like putting, he's going to win heaps. We've already seen it the last 2 weeks. Like he's just getting absolutely like abused golf courses for 2 weeks that are like these are against the like best players in the world. Like won the Players and Bay Hill, which is like nuts. He won Bay Hill by 5 shots. That's just like silly golf.
Yeah, he's going to be uncatchable. Eh? We have to. I think he's going to have to be looked at for every major this season as well. I bet the guys are glad this week that he's decided he's not
about the Masters. Like I would not bet against him. No danger. It's just like he just hits it too good. And if he's hitting it, if he's starting to putt reasonably well, it's like it's going to be hard to see somebody else playing against him unless he has like a couple of things like maybe not go his way, and a couple of other guys get hot. Like that's the only way I see him not winning the Masters. His game's absolutely good enough to win it. It's just silly. He's so good at golf.
Yeah. So that's a tip for everybody. Lee says, put your house and all your future earnings on Scotty Scheffler winning the Masters.
Yeah, honestly, I'm
so confident.
I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I'd be chucking it all at Scotty Scheffler. Like, I don't even think you'd get any money back from him on an each way bet at the moment because he's just playing so good.
Yeah, it's win or bust with him, I think.
It's ridiculous. He's playing unbelievable golf. It is still funny like when you see him getting like interviewed afterwards. And he was talking about somebody shouting to him, it's like, oh, like, and congrats on being number one, Scotty. It's just like just another 11 years to go. Like in reference to him like trying to catch up with Tiger. And you're like, every time you see somebody like on a bit of a hot streak, you like forget how much better Tiger was than everybody else. It's just mental. None of his barely any of his records will get caught. It's just
and he's still 27, I think Scheffler is 27, 28. So he's still a young man. He's still got loads of time to go.
Heaps of time.
He just looks old with that big beard that he's sporting now. But
he's so like kind of like mature and stuff. Even like at that age, he's just like he seems like he's got a proper old head on his shoulders. Like he seems like dead focused. Like the only things he cares about is like his family and playing golf. And God, I think he's like super Christian.
Yeah.
So he's just like that's his whole thing. Is like loves God, loves his family,
loves his golf.
Loves golf. That's it. That's the entirety of his life. And the other two, like I don't know enough about Christianity or that. I definitely don't want to get into religion or politics, but I'm going to imagine that bit doesn't take out too much of his time.
No.
So I think it's got plenty of time to be just hitting golf balls all the time.
Yeah. And it's worked out well for his caddy as well. Did you see the stat thing that his caddy in the last 2 weeks has made more money than McIlroy has for this season already for this season by like about $200,000 or something?
That's amazing.
So that boy definitely backed the right horse when he picked up that bag.
It's Ted Scott, is it not?
Yeah, Ted Scott. Aye.
He used to get abused off of Bubba Watson.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can go from him to nice, quiet Scotty who just doesn't give you any grief. Does what you tell him to do. It gives you pots of cash. Yep, that's definitely the right one. So what we'll do is we'll do a couple of quick kind of non-interviewish questions, if you like. Right. So, what's your dream 4-ball?
What the hell? I haven't really thought about it. I'd maybe. Can I do 2?
You can do whatever you want.
Right. For professionals, it would has to be Tiger, without a doubt.
Yeah,
has to be Tiger.
He's on everybody's list.
I'd bring Bobby Jones back for the grave to play with him because I just think like his life in general was like really quite interesting, and like the fact he never turned professional, he played as an amateur forever, and he was just like the man. Like he was the Tiger Woods at his kind of era. And I'd maybe throw like a Lee Trevino in there just because that boy's going to have so many stories. Like, so just in case Tiger Woods and Bobby Jones doesn't want to speak to me, I know Lee Trevino will do enough speaking for the pair of them and me.
Yeah.
He'll keep the party up for everyone.
Yeah. I had Tiger, my dad, and John Daly, because I think that Daly would provide the. Yeah, I've got some stories about this. And Tiger could keep me right on my swing, and my dad could just criticise everything because that's the way that seems to work out.
That's a good one as well. I think my other one would be me, my dad, my granddad, and I don't know. I'd probably just make it a 3-ball, just play the 3 years. Just because I never got the chance to play golf with my granddad.
Right.
He like passed away before. Like I was quite like I was probably like 14 or something or 15 when he passed away, and I'd only been playing golf for a little while, and he wasn't really able to play golf anymore because he'd been sick. So I missed out the chance to play golf with him. So I would have loved to have just like I would have liked to let him see like how much better I got, sort of thing. It's like he only saw me when I like first started playing golf, and he was slagging me off because I was rubbish at the time. I'm just like, 1, it would be like just nice, and 2, I'd get to rub it in his face. And I was like, right, watch me pump this 300 yards in it.
Yeah, exactly. Watch this wee baby draw, granddad. Round the trees.
Like I used to do that as well.
Yeah. Round the trees. Right. You've finished your round, right? So what would you class as your perfect 19-hole experience? What you haven't to eat, a couple of beers, or we've already discussed you're no a big drinker, but so you finished your 4-ball with Tiger, Trevino, and Bobby Jones.
So perfect 19th hole, I'd say. Like if it has to have been like a good day on the golf course, and like sorry, I think like if you have like a bad day on the golf course, you're not going to have that much fun in the 19th hole. Come off middle of summer, get a good pint of Tennent's in you. For everyone in America that doesn't know that, like what that is, it's what beer's meant to taste like.
I don't know. I mean, even being a Scotsman, Tennent.
There's plenty of IPAs out there and stuff, right? But the best pint I have ever had without fail was a pint of Tennent's, and it was at the old Smithy Inn, actually, in Pitlochry. And it was on the way up to the festival that I ended up tearing my meniscus in. It was hands down the best pint I've ever had, and it was like, you couldn't imagine it. It was like the sun's coming through the window, bartender's like put it down on the bar top, red tea's facing me, the bubbles are going, you can see it through the light. It's just like, it was a holy experience. It was unbelievable.
And the condensation on the glass, on the glass,
everything. It was just the perfect pint. So yeah, pint of tenants, probably some sort of like burger, something like pretty filling to get into. And honestly, the best experience I've ever had after a round of golf was in Millport. Like me and my mates all went through, like one of my close mates is that's his home club. It's like this wee island off the coast of Glasgow. Get the ferry over. We played. It's called the Cumbria Cup. Everyone in Scotland should go and play it this year so that it doesn't die, because it's a great competition. It's 36 holes. So we played that during the day. Like played the practice round the day before. Played that on the day, and then we all went out for drinks after. And there's a place called the Tavern in Millport, right? And it just looks like a normal pub in the front, but then you go through the back and it's this huge room, and it's a big karaoke room, and there's screens all around the walls, so you can see like what the lyrics are. Everyone can see what the lyrics are, and you're like, it's a proper karaoke bit though, that you're like on a stage. It's not just your mates. You're singing in front of a bunch of randoms. And I swear to God, it was like Millport's Got Talent. I've never seen this many good singers in like one bar. It was unbelievable. And like I got in and I was like, right, I'll chuck my name as well. My mate that invited us all, who not only won the competition, is also like he's got a serious respiratory system on him. He can sing. Like, he's proper good at singing. I was like, right, I'll get involved as well. And then one of the other lads that had been in the competition that day, he was like the first to get up, got up, basically lit the microphone on fire. I was like, oh, bloody hell, he's good. And then all the other like people that were in the bar all got up and had a shot, and they were all amazing before I even got to go up. And I was like, I never thought I would be nervous doing this. And now I'm absolutely balling myself. I'm going to get booed off this stage. And I was like, everyone's so good at singing there. But it was one of the best nights after a round of golf ever. And I played terrible, which just shows how good like that experience was, like how much a laugh it was.
If that's your thing, yeah. You should pick a song that everybody knows the words to, and all you have to do is start. So you would go like Robbie Williams' Angels. And all you need to do is I sit and wait, and then that's it. Everybody else will sing the rest of it.
Yeah.
Everybody's in.
My go-to is Walking in Memphis.
Oh, that's a tune.
Absolute banger.
What's your guilty pleasure one, though? I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours.
Right. My guilty pleasure one is Under the Sea by the Little Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid.
Tear that up, by the way.
Mine's is Material Girl by Madonna.
Quality.
Love that tune.
I've got plenty of like cheesy tunes.
People forget how good Madonna was back in the day.
Oh,
that's a tune. Have you heard? They're called Punk Rock Factory, and you'll need to look them up once you're finished. Punk Rock Factory, and they do like Disney songs, but in like a 182 type style. And they do Under the Sea.
I think I saw them do I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan or something like that. It was either them or somebody else done it. And it was quality. I thought it was so good.
They do Under the Sea, and it's probably the best version of that song I've heard, because my daughter loves Little Mermaid. So I've heard all of those, and then I stumbled across this Punk Rock Factory, and I'm like, that is class. They do songs for Frozen and everything. It's brilliant. Really good. Really good. So we briefly spoke at the start, and I was kind of teeing you up with some of these. You said a couple of embarrassing stories. Are you wanting to talk about them, or we just want to leave them for another day?
No, I'll do it. I'll
go on, Ed. Go on, then. Embarrass yourself.
This one was proper rough, and like I want all juniors to know that I don't condone this at all. It was really embarrassing. I'm absolutely ashamed of myself. Like when I done this, because I was like, I was a daft junior, and in fact I was probably about 17 at the time, so I wasn't that young either. So like I was just, my golf hadn't been going my way for a while, and temper used to get the best of me at times, and I would occasionally be like lobbing a club here and there. So I didn't actually even mean to really like throw this club. I was on the 15th of Dunstan. I was playing with an ex-captain, and his mate, and like I was like good pals with both of them. And I finally was playing all right this day, and I was doing okay, and then screwed up the 14th at Dunstan, which is like a par 3 down the hill, and then going to the 15th, I'm like ripped up the fairway. I was like, right, got a good look here, birdie this will maybe like correct the last hole a little bit, get the ball rolling again when I'm coming in, like finally get a good score again. Like this is going to be the start of my season. Like just putting way more pressure on myself than is necessary. It was like it's not like I'm playing at a really high standard at the time either. And I pulled it left, which is like no go zone. It's such an awkward up and down for there. And I was standing with a wedge in my hand. I was raging. And I kind of like, I didn't even finish looking at the ball. And I kind of like went like that. And I tried to just like toss my club at my bag, sort of thing. And it slipped out my hand early, skidded across the ground. The club head like dug into the ground and the shaft went like that and hit one of the boys like right across the stomach and chest. And I was like the boy hit the deck and I was just like head in my hand. And I was like, couldn't believe I'd done it. Like he wasn't playing well, but like that also like didn't help. And that like and he like walked in after. He's such a nice guy as well. He was a proper like mild mannered guy. I was so embarrassed, and like I was obviously playing the last few holes with like an ex-club captain, who's a lovely guy. He actually like the guy had wrote a thing in he does like a sports column in like the evening news, and he wrote a thing about me previously, like winning a competition and stuff. Like he was a proper nice guy. Like
you're chucking clubs at
nicer people. And I'm just like so ashamed and embarrassed of myself, and like I could barely look either of them in the eye like at the club for like weeks after. I sent like a letter of apology to the guy that I hit. When Alistair was still a pro at the time, he knew about it, and I spoke to him and I was just like, can I like buy some golf balls and leave them for the guy when he comes in, sort of thing. Like I saw his name on the tee sheet. It's like, again, Alistair being the classiest man alive and like knows how to just deal with these situations and like deal with them quickly and head on. He was just like, what you should do is take a buggy, right? Drive out into the course, go see the guy, like apologize again. Like, I know you've sent him a letter and stuff, but I said it's a nice touch for you to go out and like apologize to him in person and stuff, and that'd be the thing. So I've done that with like the balls and stuff, but yeah, I actually don't think I've played golf with either of them since. I'm just like, not like I've been like, I've not tried to get away from them, or like I don't know if they.
But they definitely try to keep away from you.
I wouldn't blame them from that. But needless to say, I don't really do much throwing at clubs anymore. And if you are going to throw a club, do it like a javelin and do it directly at the bottom of your bag. That's the only way to do it, because you're not going to break it, right? And you're not going to hit anyone.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just, it was a shocker. I was ashamed of myself. Honestly, it's so bad. I had such a runner. I was like going up to the golf course like a sheep for the rest of that year. It was shocking. It was so bad.
Well, kids, that's top tips from a golf coach for you. If you're launching your club, you throw it like a javelin, and you don't throw it at when you're playing with the ex-captains. Don't throw it at people. Keep it short and succinct.
Just honestly, oh god, I wasn't as controlling my emotions when I was that age than I am now. I'm a lot more mild-mannered now.
Good. Good. Right, I've got one for you. So you play these golf games, Tiger Woods and PGA Tour and all these ones, right? So you create a golfer. So you create the golfer, right? Drive in, best driver of the ball.
Oh, right. Rory McIlroy, hands down.
Right, that was easy. That's most people's answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. If no one's seen the video yet, him and Micah Morris standing having a long drive competition, go and watch that, and he just hits like 10 balls in a row or something at like 320 on a string. Like he just doesn't leave the fairway. Hits the exact same shot every single time, and it's just freakish. Like I don't know anyone else who can do that. I think it's wild.
Micah Morris can play a bit as well, eh?
He can hammer the ball as well.
He hits a ball.
He actually beat him at the long drive competition, but it's just because he hits the ball like forever. He also hit it a bit kind of like side to side and stuff, whereas McIlroy was just like bullet after bullet after bullet. It was, freakish.
I watched a thing where it was like a fitting session, and they had that boy Trotty was doing the things, and he's like, Morris is he had to swap him out a ball, and he had to go to a different shaft. He didn't have just standard ones lying about just because the boy absolutely pumps it. So, right, what about iron play? Who's considered the best iron player?
I would probably want to go. I'd probably go Scotty Scheffler now. And if it wasn't Scotty Scheffler, maybe I don't know what the stats say, but I would say maybe Tommy Fleetwood. I just love his like move in general. Like through impact, he just looks so stable. He looks brilliant with an iron in his hand. But otherwise, Scotty Scheffler.
Scotty Scheffler. What about the short game? You're allowed to pick live players, by the way. It doesn't have to just be PGA. We're very open on this podcast to
the live goal.
to all those traitors that left and went to go.
Honestly, I forget they exist half the time.
I know, unless they're like got a competition.
Mind like Dustin Johnson exists. Which is ridiculous. He's like one of the best golfers on the planet, and he's just like Denny Kenny does anything until it comes into a major.
Yeah, because he's playing exhibition matches with these other multi-millionaires, eh?
I know. Aye. Not like it. I'm not going to turn them down, by the way, if they ever come knocking at my door.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Best short game. Let's go. Let's just go Brian Harman. I know his short game is elite.
Yeah.
Just off the top of my head, I don't know why he's really came into my head just now, but
what about Mickelson?
Mickelson's short game's amazing as well. Both lefties, both great short game.
Is there something in that then? Do you think all us right-handers should start playing short games left-handed?
Nah, because I don't think Bob McIntyre's short game is that good, so I don't think it's in there. I think his like long game's really good, but he always looks a bit sketchy with the putter in his hands. Probably still a better putter than me, but I'm saying compared to like the best putters in the world, I wouldn't put him up there with him.
Right. So what about putting then? Who do you think is the best putter in the world?
I would put a house on Tiger holding a putt under pressure.
Yeah.
So, Tiger Woods.
When I've done this question before, everybody brings up Cam Smith, but I think Cam Smith's
so good and so consistent.
He's hot and so consistent. That's what it is, yeah. But has he ever had to make one that's under pressure or you're going to lose your house if you're picking somebody that you need to.
The amount of putts that he's hold when it's just like this is to win or like this is to get into a playoff is unbelievable. Like it's mental. And it's also helped like being such a good golfer that he's had so many opportunities to have that putt on the line. But like the putts that he's hold under pressure, it's not like 8 footers or like 50-50. It's like 25 footers in that. They've got like again 6 feet of break and stuff that he's just like pouring in the middle of the hole. It's like that's wild. Like that's unbelievable.
Yep. No, that's that make a decent one. I would think that golfer would probably be quite hard to beat if
he'd be doing all right.
Had all those attributes. Cool. So before we let you go, I know you kind of stuck your hat on when the sun was in your eyes there, but as I said, I've been following you on your Instagram and your social media. So you got yourself a new set of clubs recently.
I do, yeah. So Kings Acre is now like a PXG hub. So technically, myself and the other pro there, Scott Thompson, we're both not technically, we are PXG staff players.
No, you're troops, aren't you? You're troops.
PXG troops, yeah. Kaboom, baby. Yeah. America.
Yeah. I had a putter from there, and it was Aaron that fitted me for the putter before up there.
It was Aaron as well. He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's really good. And then I did have a set of PXG clubs up until about a year ago. Got them fitted. We were on holiday in Florida, and the PXG fitting centre was right across the road for the hotel. So I thought it would be rude not to. So I did play kind of.
Hey? What did you change from PXG for?
Well, I'll tell you the reason I changed from PXG. And if they want to give me a shout out and get me back in for a fitting and hand me some clubs, I'm more than happy to come play them again. But the reason that I changed is because I bought in my infinite wisdom, I thought, right, I'm going to get a driver and I'm going to get a pitching wedge, a 9, an 8, and a 7. And I'm going to get a couple of like hybrid-y ones to try and go in between. And it just didn't work. The setup didn't just work out for me, right? Like I had the hybrid thing, and then I had a 5-wood, which I've still kept the 5-wood because that is an absolute weapon. Like that is my fairway finder, right? I'm so confident with that. Whereas my driver, I could spray balls all over the place, but that 5-wood is just a think in the middle. So I traded them in, and I swapped them for a different set that had 5, 6, 7. No, what did I have? Yeah, 5, 6. No. Shut up, Craig. 6. Anyway, I've got a full set now. I've got pitching wedge to 3-iron. I've got
right.
But there were a second-hand set that I picked up from Clubs for Cash. I know we spoke about them earlier on. That I'd picked up from there. But yes, I'm a bit of a. If somebody tells me something's going to be good for my game, I'll switch. And that's just.
I also say to them like I was pretty clear with Aaron as well before we started the fitting. I was like, obviously, yeah, it's great to get free gear and kitted out with stuff. But I said to him pretty openly, I was like, I'm not going to change this kit if it's not as good or better than the stuff I'm already playing with. And previously, I was just about Titleist throughout the entire bag, except for my putter was Odyssey, and I had my putter for about 12 or 13 years. Like, and I won that putter as well. I didn't pay for it. I was just like, because I was skint and I was a junior, but I got that putter and I played great with it, and I just held on to it forever. And managed to actually swap me out of my putter. So I'm now in like the closer Battle Ready 2, which is a quality putter, really good. I'm going to put some heavier weights in it, but even at the way it's at just now, it feels lovely. It comes off the face so soft. And then I've got I'm like 2-iron down to putter in these things. Like it's like a driving iron. I've got it's a new driving iron they just brought out, which is an absolute missile launcher. Like I can hit just about any shot I want with it. But the big thing that I found with my previous set of irons was I was just like launching everything a bit high, which is my own tendency. Like I typically launch the ball quite high, and I'm quite a high spin player. But I was trying to get my ball flight down a bit so I can get a little bit more distance, and like especially in the wind. Like see when I'm playing into the wind, I found like I had to take a lot of club to take enough spin off the ball. Whereas I don't feel like I need to do that as much with these clubs. I feel like I can swing harder at the ball when I want to, and it's not just going to like jump up in the air. Yeah. It feels like it's going to like go forward. So I'm basically in their blades from 5-iron to pitch and wedge. Then their 3 and 4 irons, like they're slightly thicker blade. It's still basically a blade, but it's like I think it's maybe like a whole head, kind of like what the TaylorMade one's doing. I think there's maybe a polymer inside or something. As you can imagine, as you can tell, golf manufacturing is not my strong suit. I'm terrible with the tech part of it, which is actually what my next GA assignment's on as well. So I'm not really looking forward to that. But then the wedges are really good as well. Like I was blown away by the wedges. The grind on them is really nice on the 58. I feel like I can hit any shot I want with it. Quality. Like the shafts are all like helping me like knock the ball down a little bit more as well. And like with the wedges and stuff, I feel like you can like swing quite hard at them now, and they're not just going to go like kind of up my left nostril. They're like going to just keep going. Yeah.
I play with I had a very high ball flight, so when I went for the fitting, they put me in the KBS shafts. I think it was the C taper light ones or something they given me. and it was good. It was really good and clever how they show you on the screen how you can bring the ball flight down just with a shaft. And it was 0211 heads I had. But like I said, I just didn't think I had too many of them. And then I didn't have enough of them, sorry. And then I did try to find like the 5 and the 6 in it in that set, but they didn't have them. They had the new ones. And I'm like, oh, are they going to feel the same as what the other ones were? So as I said, I did trade the 4 irons that I had in. And I got a new set, but they've still got the exact same shaft. So at least I know that that's still the consistency. It's just the head that's on these new ones. And I went for they're a set of Cobra ones, and they're like forged. Well, there's some of them are forged, and some of them are kind of cavity back
ones.
Like a split set thing. So we'll see how they go. But like I said, I'm very much a chopper and changing thing. It's never me. It's always the equipment. It's always been the equipment. So I've gone through every single putter that there is, right? Every brand. As I said, I had that closer. I really liked it. Then I decided I wanted to swap it.
The lab one now,
eh?
You've got the lab just now, have you not?
Yeah, I'm on the lab one now as well. That was very kindly donated by Lab through this podcast as a way of trying to get better over the year. And actually,
to be fair, their putters are like, I find them a bit weird to look down on. But I've had a shot of, what's the smaller one with the like kind of 2 prongs coming off it?
The Mez.
I've had a shot of that.
Yeah.
Jesus, it comes off the face so nice.
Aye.
Because it's like squint as well, like in the grip.
Aye. So it goes into the club head at an angle, and then the grip has got this forward press thing as well that sits at a funny angle as well. So when they reached out and they said they were going to give me this to work with, and having historically been a really bad putter, my dad was like, very good, you've got this gimmicky thing again. And he's tried it recently, and he's like, actually, it is really nice, Craig. I can't get away from the fact that it is nice. I mean, it would do you some damage because the thing's about the size of my head, but it is really nice. And they're definitely making waves on the kind of golf scene, and you see all these guys are winning with them, and they're putting them in their bags. All the free agents, like Mickelson's got one now as well, and he's statistically a good putter. So for him to have moved, then they must have something in it. So we'll see how the season goes with this one. We'll see how it goes. If it gets a handicap down, then all the better, because it definitely is a point and shoot type thing. You're supposed to pick a line and just go for it. So if I trust that, the thing is, quickly before we go, right, I'm no bad now from like 4 and 5 feet. Right, I've got a putting green at the back in my back garden in my house. So I go back to, which means that now I can have a go with my lag putts, because I know that if I get them within 4 and 5 feet, I'm going to make the putt for there.
Yeah, you feel good about it.
Probably because the lab putter's about 4 feet in itself, so I know I just have to swing it and make that difference from there. So, that's where I'm at. Do you want to give a quick shout out to anybody? Or I know you said you weren't looking for sponsors at the moment, but what's your social medias? Got any emails anybody can contact you if they want to get in touch with stuff? Feel free just to bash on with that.
So at the moment I've got obviously the Instagram. You can search just like my name and it should come up, but it's called Forged Golf. That's kind of like my coaching brand, I guess. Just because it's easier to pronounce than my surname. I can't be bothered to spell my surname for everyone that asks me about it. I'm just like, Forged Golf, go to that. If anyone wants to email me, it's halshlee29@gmail.com. So HALGHLEE29@gmail.com. So you can email me about whatever. Unless you're asking me about like your grip or something like that at a time, you can come give me money for a lesson, right? I'm not doing lessons over email for any age just now. I don't mind the occasional DM about something that I've already like talked about, like in one of my posts. You can message me about that, and I don't really mind if I get the time and if it's quiet in the pro shop and I'm feeling particularly egg-heady, then I'll maybe get the opportunity to give you a bit of free advice.
Perfect. No, that's good. We'll stick all links in the podcast anyway, and the stuff goes out, as I say, this goes out on YouTube, and it'll go out on the across the pond sports podcast, and it's all in all the usual places. So I'll make sure this is badged up to the hilt with all your email addresses and Instagram handles and bits and pieces. But listen, it's been really good to speak to you, and I know it took a bit of time to get you on. I'm dead keen to get you back on again as the season continues, and maybe once you've had your first tartan tour event, you can maybe give us a shout and we'll get you back on again. We can just kind of keep ahead of your keep on top of your progress and see how you get on going through the rest of the season and the career. Cool. As I said, there's an open invitation for you, Lee. Anytime you want to come back on, you can just hit me up and we'll get something sorted. All right. Yeah. You too.
You're button at any point, mate. Come give me a shout.
I'll give you a.
Good players can talk about anything. That's what you need to remember.
Aye, you just want a shot at my lab, don't you?
I hold plenty of tips already. Don't you worry.
Right, perfect. I'll speak to you after. Thanks again, Lee. Cheers.
Right. See you later on, mate. Cheers.
Stay on.